But let's move on. We got to give a huge shout out to our boy Jake. Love having him on the podcast. I mean, that's two great Patreon topics back to back. Because you got Pat last week on the PTP, absolutely killed it on the Kansas Jayhawks thing. And it's super fun hearing him talk about that. And Jake, like Dave said once we got off the phone, he's like a combo of us. He's kind of got
you kind of disagreed with it though when Dave said it. You were like, I don't know.
Well, I've kind of seen it now. He's kind of got more of Dave's demeanor, a little more laid back, a little more chill. Because I'm a frantic weirdo, and people are telling me to chill out in the comments.
Jake will just say what he's thinking. He won't hold back.
And Dave does that too.
Yep.
And I don't know.
And we have a bit of shared love for their Philly team.
And we also have
Dave. Okay, he's a real fan. You're a poser. Let's just get that.
Jake and I also have similar opinions.
Poser.
Well, yeah, wait. Come on. You're a Bulls fan. You're a Bulls fan, Dave.
I said shared love for Philly. I didn't say I was, that was my number one team. I admire it.
A Woj bomb dropped today, and it said that the Charlotte Hornets are open and,
for
offering,
business?
Open for business for Kemba Walker trade offers, at least. So
it's kind of like 7-Eleven. They're not always doing business, but they're always open.
So Kemba Walker is now being dangled out there. I said that on the podcast about 2 months ago, or maybe a month ago, that I wouldn't be too shocked if Kemba Walker ended up in trade deals, or at least trade talks. Now he is formally out there. Charlotte making it obvious. Kemba talked about it today. He seems heartbroken. He doesn't want to leave. It's pretty sad. But this 27-year-old All-Star, one of my favorite players in the league, he got me, rekindling my love for basketball. He made me a UConn Husky fan for about 3 years of my life. That run in 2011 was absolutely magical. And then, obviously 2014, Kevin Ollie took Jim Calhoun's team and took him to a fucking national championship. And now Kevin Ollie's looking to get fired and out in UConn because he can't, get a winning basketball team out in the AAC. But anyways, different sport, different region, different levels of basketball. But Kemba Walker rekindled my love for basketball. He needs a better home right now. He doesn't have that too bad of a contract, but what the Hornets are looking to do is move Kemba because he has a ton of value, because he's not on a bad deal and he's a great player. And then also offload some of their bad contracts, like Dwight for 23 for 2 years. Marvin Williams, I think he's on a 3-year deal for around $14 million. Cody Zeller, 12 years for 4 years. Not a terrible contract for him because he's still pretty young. And also Nick Batum, I think he's got 2 years on his deal or 3 years on his deal. And he's got around like $16 million, $17 million on his contract. So
22, 24, 25 on Batum.
Okay, so way worse. So Batum...
And then a player for 27.
Okay, so for 4 years, Batum is going to be making around like $24 million. So they're trying to offload contracts, bring in more youth, and try to at least purge this team, because so far this team has been very mediocre since Michael Jordan has owned this team, and since 2011, since they've brought in Rich Cho, the former Portland GM, this team has been around mediocre. Made the playoffs twice, 2013, 2016, got bounced by LeBron James and the Heat in 2013. In 2016, got ousted by the Heat and D. Wade in 7 games. Close series, but
Jeremy Lin tried as hard as he could to carry that team.
Haven't gotten past the first round, and they've been super mediocre other than that. They've won around 47% of their games, so not even a team above 500. So let's jump into Kemba Walker, a dynamic player, a top point guard. I don't know where we put him in our point guard rankings last year, but he's a top 10 player. Where is Kemba Walker going to end up going after February 8th? After February 8th, the NBA trade deadline, what jersey will Kemba Walker be donning?
For me, the obvious answer is the unlikely answer, unfortunately. And for me, I feel like the Spurs is the best answer to go with, because this is a team who we have the mysterious quad injury for Kawhi, taking him out for unknown amounts of time. We're not going to talk about it. Papa refuses to give a number anyway. So I feel like this is a team where, yes, LaMarcus Aldridge has kind of reemerged as the old LaMarcus Aldridge, being able to take over games and looked really great this year. But at the same time, I look at that team and I'm like, you guys are still the Spurs. Yes, you're still going to win 50 games, but don't you think now is the time to push the button? Bring in somebody like Kemba Walker, who can be your point guard. I know you have talent back there, but at the same time, it's like, are you really going to miss the opportunity to get Kemba for 2 years? When you're set up, you could have Kemba, Kawhi, and LaMarcus Aldridge as your big three. That is scary. I just feel like that combo together would work going forward as well.
Is he a Spurs system guy, though? Because all I think back to is the podcast. It was the
Road
Trippin', where
Richard
it was Horry, and Horry's like, hey, you know what? And he basically mapped it out. is Kemba a guy to fit into that Spurs system?
Yeah, I mean it's truly a system, and we watched LaMarcus struggle not fitting into that system, and I feel like in his age, Pop has kind of figured out that like maybe one shape doesn't fit all. So I think that even if he doesn't fit perfectly, he's a massive upgrade from Tony Parker and DeJounte Murray and Patty Mills. Patty obviously not like a starting point guard; he's more of the combo.
Just
off the
at least
bench,
the guys that have on the team.
He is a massive upgrade over that and comes in healthy. I just think it's a great fit for them.
And I think Kemba does kind of fit the system. I don't know if he fits the mold, but he at least has the attributes and at least the personality traits of fitting in that system. He's a very unselfish person. Yeah. He seems like just a very quality person. I'm not saying like players that haven't fit in the system aren't quality people, but Kemba does seem like a guy who is truly based on just wanting to win games. A guy that's very driven. He doesn't seem like he has a huge ego. He seems like he could really slide into that at least culture
I don't think
in
I've
San
heard
Antonio.
much out of him since he hit the NBA, like public speaking wise. Like he's not a guy who's opinionated. Guy. So I think you're right. He might fit in pretty well there.
And watching him speak when he is thrown into trade rumors today, he's getting emotional. It's not like he's angry, upset, just very calm and somber. I feel like he has at least the demeanor to fit in and slide into that Pop routine. But the whole thing with Kemba going to the Spurs is, do they have the assets to go out and get him? And do they have the ability to bring him in as long as they're also taking in contracts like Marvin Williams, Nick Batum, Cody Zeller, whoever they do want to throw over? Right. Do they have enough to actually take on those contracts? I mean, that's the biggest question is, can the Spurs take on Kemba? Yes. I mean, they would probably give up whatever they could to get Kemba, but it's also, can they add on another bad contract that's going to last them for 2 to 3 years to 4 years? And would it be worth it, weighing the positives from Kemba and the negative of a bad contract? Not saying that, Marvin Williams isn't a decent role player. Right. Not saying that Nick Batum has been a decent role player before, especially coming off the bench. But it's really, do you want to be paying Nick Batum as a role player $27 million? Jesus. No, not at all. Ricky, where do you think is a likely spot for Kemba Walker to land?
Likely spot, I would go somewhere more like I wouldn't be surprised if he goes to a team that's not even in the playoffs right now, like a Knicks, the Pistons, like a team where it's like, okay, might not go to the playoffs this year. Yeah. However, and I'm going to go full 2K Ricky already because I love doing this. I have a trade mapped out, and it's successful. It's a 3-team trade, Hornets, Cavaliers, Clippers. Okay. You put the picks wherever you want them to work. These are the contracts. So the Hornets would take on Tristan Thompson and Isaiah Thomas. The Cavs get DeAndre Jordan and Kemba Walker. Clippers get JR and Marvin Williams.
So the Clippers are getting the Nets pick and Cleveland's pick
or the Nets pick could go to the Hornets and the Hornets could give the Clippers their lottery pick. The Clippers would get a pick.
JR and Marvin Williams, they're getting the Nets pick.
But you're looking at that like with a Clipper thing.
And they're giving up DeAndre and Lou?
No, they're giving up DeAndre.
Just DeAndre?
So the Clippers give up DeAndre, they get JR and Marvin Williams.
Where's that Charlotte pick currently at?
The Charlotte pick's at 11 right now.
Okay.
And the Brooklyn pick is at 7.
Yeah.
The Cavs get rid of all their contracts. They basically swap IT and Kemba. It's just JR goes to LA, Tristan and Isaiah go to Charlotte.
It's 2K, but I don't think it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
2K.
I think that fairly...
Yeah.
I think it's...
Congrats.
The only thing that makes it ridiculous in my mind is I don't think the Cavs could pull off DeAndre Jordan and Kemba to save their season.
Well, and the one thing, then, that's something that Jake kept bringing up in the Cavs talk that we just had is no matter who they bring on, and the only person that he said that would work on that team and probably push them over the Warriors, or at least make it very competitive against the Warriors, he picked Warriors in 5 no matter who they get, outside of them bringing in Paul George. But he said, in making the point that Thunder are winning, they're most likely not going to move on from Paul George. But looking at that lineup, then you get Kemba Walker, maybe Kyle Korver for some shooting in the starting lineup. LeBron, K-Love, and then DeAndre Jordan. I mean, that's a pretty solid 5 right there.
Hey, that'll do.
But I mean, defensively, you're not going to be able to match up with Curry and Klay Thompson because Kemba isn't a lockdown defender. I mean, he's not as bad as IT. But Kyle Korver is not going to be able to shut down Klay Thompson. So it's really a lose-lose situation there. And
does it make their team better right now? Yes. Does it still put them over the top? Maybe not.
Yeah, I mean that's the problem with the Cavs is again, if they're going to move on the Brooklyn pick, and it's what Russillo said that he's hearing from LeBron is that if they're going to move that Brooklyn pick, it needs to be for a game changer. I think Kemba Walker and DeAndre Jordan are game changers, but is it going to push them over the Warriors? I have no idea. And especially you're giving up another game changer in Isaiah Thomas along with that.
Right.
So I really don't know. I think the trade that you laid out is there, but I don't know if it's actually going to happen.
No.
Because that's a huge trade, and we don't really see massive trades where
Blockbuster
three
name.
superstars are going
the last
from
one we saw was what
different
Dwight,
teams.
Dwight going to LA for
Andre Iguodala went to the Nuggets, I think, in that trade. Who else went to that?
Bynum went to the Sixers.
Bynum went to the Sixers.
That's probably the last big.
Who did the Magic get out of that trade?
I don't know. The Magic got fucked.
The
like
Magic
they
always
do.
get fucked.
Just gonna blindly assume that they'll call us out for it, whatever it is.
But no, I mean, I don't remember who they got out of that trade because I think Iggy ended up going to the Nuggets, unless the Nuggets sent someone to Orlando. Anyways, it doesn't matter right now. But at least with that, I think it's possible, but I think it's very unlikely. I think the trade that you laid out though isn't crazy. The teams that we talked about before coming on to the podcast, and at least teams that were possible for Kemba Walker, we said the Cavs are iffy, and really it's just is he enough of a game changer to get the Warriors? Who they get?
They got Aaron Aflalo, the haymaker thrower,
Game changer
Al
from Denver.
Harrington,
Yeah, from Denver.
Mo
I'm guessing.
Harkless,
Oh Jesus!
and straight up.
Oh, they got
Vucevic.
Vucevic.
Yeah,
That's bad.
And
That's
Josh
a bad
McRoberts.
trade. Yikes. That's
And
terrible.
Christian Nyinga. I can't pronounce his name.
Probably played like 3 games in the NBA.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a terrible trade. They got fucked. But the Cavs were iffy on our sheet. Dave throughout the Celtics said it was iffy just because when Kyrie isn't on the floor, the offense isn't moving.
Yeah,
for
we watched that
the
last
Celtics.
night. Jesus Christ.
Rough game, 89-80 between the 76ers and Celtics. I think that could be interesting, and they definitely do have the assets. I mean, right now, I would think that Lakers pick is outside the top 5, but if they have the Lakers pick lands between 2 and 5, then that would be the Celtics pick.
We make some
to
crazy consideration pick thing, but the thing is they have future picks from other teams. They've got ammo, and I know a lot of people really like, well, here's the one thing. Marcus Smart, great defender, yes. Integral piece of the team, maybe expiring contract, yes. Mm-hmm. So you got to look at that. I don't think Rozier gets traded probably, but they've got enough pieces, enough draft picks to make something happen. And Kemba's contract, 2 years for 12, come on.
Well, and taking that baseline, Kyrie and at least Kemba, I feel like they would fit in. I think Kemba would fit in that Boston system, but it's really none of those guys are, Chris Paul level facilitators. I mean, those guys are good passers. They're good at penetrating and dishing out, but they're not, guys that are great setting up their other teammates like LeBron James, Chris Paul, that type of level. But
need to be in that kind of a level because you have skilled shooters everywhere across the floor.
Well, and you have 2 guys. You have
your
Kyrie
being a great passer.
Yeah,
too.
you have Kyrie, Kemba, Al Horford, and Jason Tatum all to take that load off. It could be interesting, and then
that
you could
would just be a weirdly stacked team. I feel uncomfortable.
Well, and then Kemba's really cheap too, and then you'd have Gordon Hayward back next year, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kyrie Irving, Kemba Walker, Al Horford, and then possibly like a Marvin Williams or Dwight Howard too.
Yeah, fuck that.
I just think the thing with the Celtics and trades, we've talked about them enough. It's like Danny Ainge ain't gonna pull the
just don't trade with Danny
Ainge is just not gonna
Learn
pull
your
the
lesson.
trigger.
I feel like the only time he's going to pull the trigger is if it's for like an Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
Like if it's for a massive guy. And I'm not saying Kemba isn't. We were just talking about Kawhi.
Yeah.
Kemba isn't, but we're talking massive as in top 10 player. Anthony Davis currently a top 10 player, and that's not even, he's well in that top 10. So I think that's the biggest thing that Danny, if he's going to go out and get a guy, it's going to be like a Kyrie who's a top 15 player. He's going to go out and get an Anthony Davis who's a top 10 player. He's got to make a huge splash if he's going to give up, someone. It's going to be a calculated move from Danny Ainge is what we're saying. So that's why that's iffy. I think it could help their team. It'd be a scary team, but will it be the right move, and will it be the right move for Danny Ainge? We said Philly was iffy. Jake talked about it a little bit either on the podcast or
off the
podcast. He said it wouldn't be crazy. They do have Markelle Fultz. He doesn't know how to shoot anymore. He forgot how to play basketball, but still that's the number 1 pick in the most recent draft. So they have ammo. Pistons have been a very heavily rumored team. Reggie Jackson would be in that move. I believe Stanley Johnson would be in that move. Picks would be involved as well.
Henry Ellison, I believe, would also be there.
Ellison, who's currently in the G League, he would be moving. He was their pick in 2016, I believe the 17th overall pick out of Marquette. So, I mean, they have some ammo there. Avery Bradley's also
role
been
players.
Yeah, Avery Bradley, who's an expiring contract, has also been moved around as well there. I think Bill Simmons also tweeted something that Stan Van Gundy is over-under Stan Van Gundy throwing out 50 trade proposals to Charlotte to get Kemba Walker. I feel like it'd be a really nice fit for the Pistons. And I feel like that probably out of the East would be the team that I would say is probably the best and most likely team to get Kemba Walker.
One that I wanted to throw out, and this is kind of one that I don't see it happening because, A, their first-round pick is in Phoenix, and 2, I just don't see them making the move because of who the guy running their team is. But because of the injury to Deion Waiters, because this is a team that wants to make a run, could the Heat be a team that not necessarily we're all in, but you know what? We'll throw one out there, see if you bite, see if you come with a counter offer. That's how trades kind of work.
Now, Ricky, before you get too far down this Heat trend, we have a lot of Heat fans.
No,
listening.
I know.
You can't give up Tyler Johnson.
Would they? The one that in the trade machine, I know that it's like, the trade machine, but Marvin Williams, Kemba Walker for Joe Johnson and Kelly Olynyk.
Joe Johnson?
And it works. Yeah. Or,
no, it's not Joe Johnson.
Not Joe Johnson. Power forward, James Johnson.
Yeah,
James Johnson.
The former Bull.
James Johnson.
Joe Johnson was there.
Kelly Olynyk for Marvin Williams and Kemba Walker.
And then you'd have to throw in like 9 picks as well because
that's the thing. Would the Heat mortgage their future because they don't have this year's first? There's in Phoenix.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, that one.
That's rough because I mean, like, I don't think Kemba's a need for Miami. And giving up James Johnson and Kelly Olynyk, 2 guys that have been good role players for them, and then also mortgaging the future for a move that's going to possibly solidify that they're in the top 4 of the East, and it doesn't even make them like a for sure.
Well, maybe even
finals
top 3
team
in the East, depending on what
that
Cleveland does.
Yeah, but I don't think that means that wouldn't put them over Boston or Cleveland in my mind. It might put them over Toronto. But that's the only
thing. Sean, that's in your mind. Like, I mean, what do you know?
The Knicks have been rumored as well. Frank has been thrown out in that deal, and I think that'd be a terrible move if I'm the New York Knicks. Do not give up Frank for Kemba Walker. I love Kemba Walker. I think he's great. But right now, go with your youth. Go with Kristaps and go with Frank. Unless you're
contract control.
Yeah, I don't
think it'd be that bad of an idea for New York.
Unless you're seriously concerned about Kristaps Porzingis' health in the next 4 years, I don't understand that move because Frank is going to need time to develop. But Frank looks like he has had the potential to be a good starter.
What that move will be is that move's going to be. I know they're kind of handicapped a little bit with this because of the Tim Hardaway Jr. contract, but bringing Kemba to New York to me would be a serious all right, we're going to recruit for you. We need you to help do this too, but there are free agents. We're going to go out there and get free agents for next year so that there's people playing along with you because you can either sit there and develop with Frank and it's like, okay, we've got contract control, or you can go with Kemba, try to get those big contracts.
The problem is
and
you're
win
taking
next year.
A big contract on to take Kemba. You're taking on that 24, 25, 26 million of Nick Batum.
And you still have Joe.
Can they flip? What if they can flip it? What if they get in 13 involved?
You still have Joe's contract under for the Knicks. That's a terrible contract. 4 years, $72 million. There's two years left on that deal. Enos has a player option after this year. He's most likely going to decline that. So, and he's been a crucial part of that team. So you're pretty much either going to pick, either keeping Cantor or getting Kemba Walker. I agree with Dave. You got to go with the contract control. Frank looks like he has the potential. Kristaps has the potential, and he's locked down for a bit. Go out and get Enos Cantor, and keep Enos Cantor. Yeah. Because him and Kristaps have been a really nice pair. You're going to get most likely a lottery pick if you're not making the playoffs, and that's going to put you in the position to possibly get like a Miles Bridges to put at that 3 spot. Or, for a 2 spot, we talked about Troy Brown from Oregon. That's a nice 3-point shooter. I feel like this team needs to go younger rather than going for it right away because that was the problem with the Knicks, before. And it's been the problem with the Knicks since,
they want it now.
The fucking 90s, is they want it now. They want results now. And not saying that Kemba Walker isn't a bad player, not saying that Marvin Williams isn't a bad player, and they couldn't help him in the playoffs. But
Kemba Walker would be a lot better of a player that they got compared to Joe and Derrick Rose when we gave him that.
No, but the thing with that is he's an upgrade over Frank right now. But the point is that you're trying to outpace LeBron, at least in my mind, with the moves that I've seen from the Knicks.
Or you're trying to possibly bring on LeBron because the Knicks have been a team we've even talked about it in the past.
I feel like if
with Porzingis, maybe make some moves. I'm not saying you will for sure, but make some moves to dump some contract. Maybe get LeBron in the offseason, and it's a big maybe. But you'd be putting yourself in that kind of a sweepstakes.
When we talked LeBron, it was mostly the 3 teams that we've thrown out there as he either stays or he goes out west in Houston or LA. I mean, New York's definitely going to be in there.
If he goes anywhere in the East other than Cleveland, I think it'd be New York because of the market.
I wouldn't disagree with that, but I feel like he wants to go. I mean, he lives out in LA, I feel like that's going to be the big thing.
And then
obviously he's got Houston with CP3. I feel
LeBron's
like what I'm just saying is that this team needs to stay young.
Stay the course. Yeah.
They need to stay the course. Enos is only 25 years old. Kristaps, 22? Maybe 21 still? 20? Kristaps is still super young. Kid's a baby. Frank's still
Frank's
17
still
years
younger
old.
than half the kids coming out this year.
Seriously. I mean, Frank is literally like a child.
Kristaps is 22. He was
22,
born in
thank you.
95.
Yeah, and Frank, I think, is 18 years old or 19 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, they have a very young core. Tim Hardaway Jr. is still very young. Oldest guy in that starting lineup's Courtney Lee, and he's got a very gracefully
He's peaking late in his career.
but he's got a gracefully declining game. He's not very athletic.
Yeah.
I just feel like the Knicks, it'd be rushing it too much. The Spurs, we mentioned it, that's iffy. I like the fit.
It's uncharacteristic for them to make a splash, but if they did, the fit could be good.
I like the fit, but I don't like the fact that they don't have enough assets. But the two I want to talk about, I threw out New Orleans. New Orleans doesn't have assets. Take them out of there. It'd be Drew Holiday, Kemba Walker, DeMarcus Cousins, and Anthony Davis as your four, your starting five. That's disgusting, but you don't have the assets to do that. The other two teams, Denver Nuggets and Utah Jazz. These are the two teams that I think that Kemba Walker could end up being on. Paul Millsap, Nikola Jokic, Kemba Walker, and Jamal Murray could be an absolutely filthy four and push them back into the playoffs. And again, I don't think this is a team that's going to be winning an NBA championship. I don't think this is a team that can upset the Rockets or the Warriors, at least in the first round. But if they get to that 6th seed and around there, maybe they make a push and get to the second round. It's just something where, hey, Jokic, we're going to decline your player option, give you an extension right away, so we don't have to worry about, we get you for a longer term.
Yeah.
I feel like that could definitely be a decision that they make. But this is a team that, with Kemba Walker, who's only 27 years old, Paul Millsap, who just signed for a 4-year deal. I think they didn't give him. Yeah, it was a 4-year or 3-year.
He's got 2 more years, then a club option.
Yeah, okay, so 4-year deal, and with a club option. So
3 and 1.
Yeah, so 3 and 1. So you got those two guys for at least you got Kemba for the next year. You got Jokic for a longer contract, and Millsap there, and Jamal Murray still locked and loaded for a little bit too. So I feel like they have the pieces as well with Kenneth Reed, Moutier.
They're moving one of their multiple of their power forwards basically.
Yeah, and Will Barton will be thrown in there. I mean, there's enough that they have to move that needle. They also have picks as well. I feel like Denver could be an interesting team and push them into the playoffs.
My problem with those two, because I also, when you brought up the Jazz, I like the Jazz. I brought up the Nuggets as well. My only problem with those two teams is by bringing on Kemba, might be able to be enough to get you back in the playoffs, but will it be enough to go anywhere in the playoffs? And then what if Kemba's not happy after this year, next year, he leaves? It's like, great, we gave up the house. He left anyways. We didn't get any.
The question is, what's worth giving up?
Are you giving up the house, though? Yeah. Because the thing is that you're going to be offsetting that with a bad contract.
I would even say, even if at the least they give up this year's first, I wouldn't do that.
I would do it.
I wouldn't. Because
right, where are the Jazz and Nuggets sitting?
They're
around 14,
the Jazz
15?
are 10th.
Okay.
And the Nuggets are 13th.
Yeah.
If I'm the Nuggets, I'd do that.
I wouldn't.
Because the thing is, the Nuggets, if you make that move, you're going to be moving back down. It's not like you're going to be staying at 10 and 13.
Exactly.
The idea is that you're going to go out of the lottery.
What I'm saying is, in hindsight, so when we're looking 3 years down the line, look at what we gave up. Kemba wasn't happy in 2 years. He left. So
are you going to regret not having
where's the return on investment there?
Out there?
My thing is, I think realistically, there are two teams in my mind that he goes to. And it's either a team like Cleveland, where it's like, that's a team that really can compete and then he'll want to stay with after, or a team like, if the only team in the lottery I could see them trading to is a team like New York, where it's like, hey, we might not make the playoffs. However, if we don't, we're a big enough market and we can recruit guys to where we can keep Kemba afterwards, even if we have to give up this year's first-round pick.
Dave, do you agree with that?
I don't love the New York arguments just because I don't think that they need to rush anything at this point. I agree with you on that.
Well, they don't have to, but I would. That's the only team outside of the playoffs I would see like, okay, go for Kemba.
Yeah, I think they've got a good enough core as is. I like going with the Nuggets. I think they've got just a plethora of power forwards right now. They can move. They've got a couple shooting guards that have value still. So that one, no fear, move that. I don't know about the Jazz. We'd mentioned them as being another one. for me, it kind of comes down to like, what do
the Hornets
want? Because it's not exactly like they've been nailing down draft picks in recent years.
I'm glad you bring up the draft picks because I usually don't have notes like this. I usually am not writing it down. But when you're bored at work,
you know who does?
And you're pissed off because
you know who does? Brandon Swanson.
He does.
Brandon Swanson's a pen to paper guy.
Usually, I have it on
He's a pen to paper
Usually,
guy.
I have it on my computer.
Yeah.
But when you're pissed off at work, when your favorite NBA player is about to get moved because he's not getting help,
Is Kemba really your favorite?
I would say he's up there. I mean, I think my favorite's probably LeBron to watch. But Kemba, I'm not watching Hornets games because of these reasons that I'm bringing up. Because they're a terrible team. The thing is that you're playing in the Eastern Conference and you're consistently getting, you've made the playoffs twice. That's pathetic. The fact that you have Kemba Walker and you're run by Michael Jordan, one of the greatest players of all time, one of the great basketball minds.
The greatest player of all time. Let's get
whatever.
that right.
The thing is that he sucks as an owner. He's not a good owner. He's a mediocre owner. When he took over in 2010, this is one of the worst teams that he did take over. And I'll give him granted, 2011, one of the worst years, 7 wins. They get screwed by the lotto. If they get that, you're able to take Anthony Davis and Kemba Walker and Anthony Davis. That's a scary duo. The year after, you have a pretty decent year after winning 7 games. You get up to, I think, 24, 21 wins there. You fire your coach, you bring in Steve Clifford, and this is Steve Clifford, a guy from the Magic that people are hyping up. You were hyping up that him and Dwight are going to be a perfect pair. Well, Steve Clifford hasn't won games in his time in Charlotte, and that's either because of Rich Chow's poor job as a GM, both drafting and bringing players around Kemba Walker and adding to Steve Clifford's lineup, or it's just a lack of great ownership because Michael Jordan isn't that great of an owner. Rich Chow isn't that great of a GM, the reason why he was fired 10 months into a stint as the Portland GM in 2010. And also, Steve Clifford, hey, maybe he's overrated because, hey, the guy that he came from in Steve Van Gundy, in Stan Van, maybe he's overrated too. Because Stan Van was great with Dwight Howard. He was great to start off with the Pistons, but they start losing those players. They start losing all of those
fucking wall.
They start losing all of that wall. They start losing that cohesion of that team unit. They start breaking down. And this is a team with Kemba Walker, who I feel is a true star in this league, could be a true star, but he's playing in Charlotte, which is not that great of a market for basketball. And also, you're not putting out quality teams. You have Nick Batum, Marvin Williams, Cody Zeller, Al Jefferson, and also Michael Kidd-Gilchrist as your best players around Kemba Walker. We always talk about a big 3. They've never had a big 2. This is a team that consistently misses the draft, and whether that's because of poor fortune in the lotto or if it's just poor fortune just with your terrible scouting team. Because let's go through this. 2012, they lost the lotto. That's just bad luck right there. The 4th team with the 4th best odds in the New Orleans Pelicans won that lotto. They took Anthony Davis, like we just mentioned, a top 10 player in the NBA. Him and Kemba Walker, that's a big 2 right there. Instead, you go and get Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, who Dave bailed out saying that he was supposed to be the guy. He just had to fix his shot. Well, this guy has the ugliest looking jumper in the NBA that I've seen. It might be worse than Markelle Fultz, and Fultz forgot how to play basketball.
This is a guy that Markelle Fultz.
This is a guy, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, who has been playing basketball, at least when he's healthy, consistently for 5 years. Markelle Fultz is just getting back to basketball action because he forgot and maybe he got hit by a truck. I don't know what's going on with Markelle Fultz.
It's the Monstars. The Monstars
it's the
took his powers.
Honestly. But even the thing with Michael Kidd-Gilchrist is there's no powers to be stolen from the Monstars. He just doesn't know how to shoot. Someone fucked up training Michael Kidd-Gilchrist when he was a kid. Either taught him to shoot with 2 hands.
They taught him wrong on purpose.
It was something weird. They gave him the worst animation in 2K when they were building a player. That's what they did with Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. And you missed on Dame, you missed on Bradley Beal, you missed on Harrison Barnes, and you missed on Andre Drummond. Any of those 2 players, or those 4 players, combined with Kemba Walker, that's a big 2. In 2013, you take Cody Zeller. A terrible draft class. A terrible draft class. There was 2 good players in that draft class from 1 to 15. It was Victor Oladipo, who was already off the board, and then Giannis, who went at 15. So I'm gonna bail out the Hornets there. It was a terrible draft class. You take Cody Zeller,
draft was that?
and he's all right. That's 2013. Anthony Bennett was the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, terrible.
2014, you get a pick after you traded Corey Maggette for Ben Gordon, and you got a first-round pick for taking on Ben Gordon's god-awful contract. And what do you do with that? You get Noah Vonleh out of that pick. You end up trading him to Portland for Nick Batum's bum ass, and you go give him, what's his contract? 5 years, $108 million with a $27 million player contract.
Option at the end, yeah.
Absolutely ridiculous right there. Nick Batum is a great 4 on a team. He is not a 2 on a team. No one's ever said that Nick Batum, wow, he's a real game changer in the NBA. No, he's a good 3-and-D player. He was probably one of the best 3-and-D players in the Western Conference. Probably, got that whole ball rolling out there when he was with Portland, when he was with Dame and LaMarcus Aldridge out in Portland. But Nick Batum isn't a number 1 overall. So you go and get Noah Vonleh at 9, and you pass up guys like Zach LaVine, Dario Saric, TJ Warren, and Clint Capella. Those are some 4 misses right there. Now, I don't know if any of those guys would be true stars next to Kemba Walker, but they're sure as hell better than Noah Vonleh, who I think probably is getting like 5 minutes out in Portland right now. Congrats, Noah. You're a bum. Then let's go to 2015. You take Frank Kaminsky. Ooh, boy, don't I love Frank Kaminsky, the senior from Wisconsin, who's going to be the what? What was his biggest player comparison when he was coming out of the draft? When you saw Frank Kaminsky playing, who did you compare him to? Probably someone from the 90s. Because Frank Kaminsky's game doesn't work in today's NBA. You pass up.
Well, no, okay, that's the one where I'm just going to jump in really quick.
Yeah, you love Frank Kaminsky.
No. It's not that I love him because he's from the area also. But
great.
It's
he's a disgrace.
He's a Bennett Academy guy.
Oh, great.
However,
who cares about Bennett? The
thing that was the most enticing thing about Kaminsky is he's a big that could shoot threes.
Now,
like that was it. Like,
how's that
he was
working
a
out for
big guy. No, I'm not saying it's working, but that's the only thing I'm defending is with everything going to the 3. Hey, he's a big who can shoot threes.
He's unathletic.
That's why. That's why.
He's unathletic and American. Larry Markkanen.
Fair enough.
He's not Finnish.
Do you know what happened around that Frank Kaminsky draft pick? Do you remember what Boston offered?
Yeah, there was
because Boston offered the 16, the 15 from the Hawks, and future first rounders from either Memphis or Minnesota.
I thought Brooklyn was in there too. I think there was some
and the Brooklyn, yeah,
and
unprotected
Brooklyn pick. And what year was that Brooklyn pick?
It doesn't say. It just says a future selection.
Could have been last
Brooklyn.
year, which could have gotten you either Markelle Fultz or Jason Tatum.
4 ones.
For Frank. And even then, say you decline it and you take Frank Kaminsky. Well, who'd you pass on? Miles Turner. Him and fucking Kemba Walker could make a great 2 right there.
Or it could have been the year after and you take Jaylen Brown.
Or you could have taken, you could have taken Jaylen Brown, or it could have been
Chris Dunn, or Buddy Hield.
Or it could have been the Brooklyn pick right now, and guess who you could take right now? Possibly Trae Young. Pretty fun combo, him and Kemba Walker, huh? But you take Frank Kaminsky, who you miss on? Miles Turner, Devin Booker, and the future of the Bulls franchise and campaign, people.
Cam goddamn Payne.
I throw in one joke because this whole Charlotte draft class is a joke.
I mean,
and then you go out
Bobby
in 2016, and this was at least a move that I criticized when it happened. You have the 22nd overall pick. You take Malachi Richardson and you trade him for Marco Bellinelli, a 31-year-old bum who's great at shooting threes, but he's a 7th man in any rotation.
Tank commander.
I mean, Malachi Richardson, he's not a guy that's going to be, I don't know what he's going to be right now. He's been injured. He hasn't been anything great with the Kings right now. But you trade the youth of Malachi Richardson. You trade anything, and you go out and get Marco Bellinelli for 1 year. It's a terrible trade. Awful, awful, awful trade. And then in 2017, you go out and get Moist Monk. And right now, it's too early to talk about him. But right now, you don't play him. And here's the other thing. Now it's too late because you're trading Kemba Walker. So Michael Jordan has owned this franchise for 8 years, and you have not seen any growth. Two playoff appearances, one of the worst years in NBA history, getting 7 wins, ruining Kwame Brown's career twice, and also just destroying the past, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, however long Kemba Walker, I don't have my notes up, I didn't put that, 6 years of Kemba Walker's career. And you look at him
Gotta
in the
love
past,
good Sean Rant.
you look in the past 3 years, Kemba Walker has been top 30 in win shares, and in the past 5 years, he's been top 50 player in VORP. The guys with him, Marvin Williams, his best year, 27th. Then Zeller, 50th. The reason why those numbers were up, because Kemba Walker was helping him. Last year, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist was his best help in win shares, 61. That was his best. Kemba sat at 29 in win shares in the NBA in 2016-2017. His best help was Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, who we just talked about doesn't know how to shoot the damn basketball. It's a joke.
Here's the thing, though.
Yeah.
Looking at it to where you can't go back in the past. It's a great rant by Sean. Gotta love the Sean rant.
Yeah, that was impressive.
However, you can't go back. You pretty much wasted Kemba Walker's time with you.
You damn right did.
However, the one thing I was going to bring up before you went on the rant is this kind of...
the rant that I purposely stopped the camera for about 6 minutes.
This goes back to the Kemba Walker trade as a whole of... You asked before, who does he get traded to before the deadline? He doesn't need to get traded before the deadline. It could happen over the summer. It could happen next year.
But the thing is that you're going to be taking his value again.
All right now they're doing is opening the communication. So we don't even know if they don't need... the Hornets right now are the ultimate... they're in the driver's seat as of right now. They can basically ask for what they want. They can take offers. The teams that are really right now are the teams that like I said, like Cleveland, like those playoff teams where it's like, shit, we need a guy like Kemba. This is where the only reason why I trade him before the deadline, try to fleece one of those teams to give up more than they might have wanted because they feel like they need him for a playoff run.
I agree with you. I'm just going to ask you some questions. Is Charlotte making the playoffs in the next 2 years?
No.
Okay.
Charlotte's not a team. I don't disagree with you.
Just a simple answer.
They're poorly run. However, I think this is the move where, as an organization, it's like, you know what? We fucked this one up. Let's move on.
Like Bill Belichick has done, like all great coaches and great minds have done, move on from a player too early. Yep. Do not trade Kemba Walker with 1 year left on his deal because you're tanking his value. If you have him with 2 years of control right now at $12 million, you're getting a top 10 point guard in the NBA for $12 million and 1 year, another year of control as well, plus the next 3 months, including playoff basketball. In that trade, you're also going to be able to get rid of a bad contract like a Dwight Howard, Nick Batum, Marvin Williams. So that is going to be the biggest thing. If you have him for 1 year, you're getting just the value for Kemba Walker for 1 year. You're not going to be able to add on that Marvin Williams, Cody Zeller, Dwight Howard, Nick Batum trades. Those guys that are 3, 4s, and 5s in the NBA, is not 1s and 2s. Those are the moves that you're making. You're trying to get rid of those contracts. So that's the reason why, if they don't trade him, I think it's a huge mistake. Right now, if they don't trade him before February 8th, that's why I see it as a huge mistake. You're totally right. They can keep him. And it's not, they can't trade him after the season.
At the latest, he gets moved this summer, but I agree
totally
that I
just
would
a Jimmy
probably
Butler
trade
situation,
him before
though, right?
the trade
And I feel
deadline.
like that's a mistake. What were you
Isn't it
bringing
just
up,
like
Jimmy?
Jimmy Butler situation from the last couple of years?
But Jimmy had a contract extension. Jimmy has more control than Kemba currently has.
And the only way I would say no is because I feel like the Bulls were in more of a position to build around Jimmy than the Hornets are right now to build around Kemba.
Yeah, the Hornets have
right now.
they're locked into what they've got.
No, I know.
Yeah.
And the Bulls weren't. The Bulls were like, well, do we try to still build around Jimmy or do we move him?
Well,
and they don't have as many
people.
bad contracts.
Yeah.
You look at the Bulls right now, they look like a team that's going to be able to make free agent moves with all the contracts that Charlotte has locked up. And if you're moving, let's say they move Marvin Williams and Kemba Walker, that's about $25 million that they're moving off their books.
Yeah.
They're going to have to take some contract down, but if they're going to expire contracts, that's going to come off. But they're not going to be in that right position to move forward and get like big free agents, or at least free agents that can help their team.
They're not
at least
great at
improve
pulling
their
in
team.
big free agents anyway, though.
No, because who wants to play in Charlotte?
So they miss on guys in the draft. They miss on guys in free agency. So how does this team get better, Sean?
Through the draft.
But they can't draft anyone.
That's the thing. What they are just a different looking Orlando Magic, and they have an ugly ass floor, and with an owner who should be able to bring in those free agents. I want to go play for Michael Jordan. There's a big problem when free agents don't say that. When free agents aren't enticed to Charlotte.
People would want to say that anyways because you'd feel a little intimidated by his greatness.
But that's the thing. I mean, that's the thing is that the problem with Michael Jordan is people see his greatness. But they see his greatness as a player. They see the respect that he deserves because of the Jordan brand. But he, as an owner, should not deserve that same respect that he does as a player. I get it. It's still transfer. He's still the same person. But as an owner, what has Michael Jordan done? What has Michael Jordan done to improve this Charlotte Hornets team? He has taken them from 7 wins to about around 36 per year. Great. You're winning under 500 still. You're not the worst team in NBA history. Congrats. You're not being able to bring in free agents and big name free agents because people are afraid of your greatness as a player. But the thing is that you haven't had the respect as an owner and at least the resume as an owner to command that intimidation.
You know what I would relate Michael Jordan as an owner to? It's kind of like when you get that guy where he's worked all his life, then he retires, then he gets bored and goes, you know what, I'm going to buy a restaurant or I'm going to buy a business. And then he notices, oh shit, there's a lot of stuff that I don't know here, and then the business tanks.
Phil
I think
Jackson as an owner.
Well, I think it's one thing is that I think he picked an owner.
Michael lasted
I think he picked an owner rather than a GM. And well, the thing is that he's got so much money,
Yeah.
so he can just keep the money flowing in. And he's close to Chapel Hill. He's close to North Carolina. He's close to everything that he grew up around. Or at least like college and up. But the thing with Jordan is
exactly that old restaurant you remember growing up with. We're gonna buy this restaurant. We're gonna build it up, and then you're like, oh crap!
I've had like 6 of those discussions in my life
There's a lot
already.
here. There's a lot of stuff here.
But the thing is that I don't think Jordan is inept as an owner. I just feel like his resume, his presence is too much to overcome. It's very similar to Wayne Gretzky as a hockey coach. This guy is the smartest mind that's ever played hockey. But you're playing for the greatest hockey player of all time. And also, it doesn't mean that you're a great player, you're going to be able to pass off that greatness.
Yeah.
And just because you're a great player and you have a ton of money and you love the game of basketball doesn't mean you should be getting involved in the NBA again. There's a reason you retire. And I'm not saying that players have never retired from the NBA and gone over, but the players that work in the NBA after a player were players that really didn't work in the NBA.
There were players that weren't excelling at the NBA. They were good role players.
Yeah,
That's
like
what
Phil Jackson was an okay role player when he was with the Knicks.
Steve Kerr, same thing.
Yeah, Steve Kerr was
same thing.
but
all of these guys have all the guys who work for.
Don't forget though, Phil Jackson surrounded himself with great people, especially with the Bulls, like Tex Winter.
But like name the lad. Like they're great basketball minds, but they don't have that talent. They don't have that same aura. Phil built up that aura as a coach.
Kobe's not coaching.
No, Kobe's not coaching. He's mentoring.
Shaq's not coaching.
Which I love.
No, he's a great
Charles
analyst.
ain't coaching.
No, and that's the thing. Like, and the only guy that you would say worked, Patrick Ewing. What did Patrick Ewing do? I'm going to go to college.
Well, that's
I'm not
because
going to
nobody
stick
in the
around
NBA
the
was going to
NBA.
give him a job.
Well,
as a head
it's
coach.
probably for good reason.
Assistant coach.
As a head coach,
no, but
they wouldn't.
it's probably for good reason because one, we usually see those types of players not work out as coaches, and two, it's something where that's Patrick Ewing. He was such a great player. He should be able to pass on that great legacy
because he's so close to, and that's the thing. Having a great mentor like that so close to the team and the players is different. Like that's the problem. Michael Jordan, you got to be a free agent there to come in. You have to beat Jordan in a one-on-one game. That just doesn't happen for you. That's why they don't get good free agents.
Also, remember Chris Mullin. He's also in college, St. John's. However, different than Patrick Ewing. Well, he's a Hall of Famer.
But Patrick Ewing's a Hall of Famer.
No, I'm talking about like Chris Mullin. Oh, Patrick Ewing's a Hall of Famer, but Chris Mullin wasn't like, hey, I'm trying to be a head coach.
But
he just went, I'm going to college.
He went straight to college. But like that's the thing is like I feel it's different because these guys had NBA resumes and they're not able to bring it over. I don't know why this is talking about the Kemba Walker thing. But the thing is just the fact that these guys don't translate because they have such a big aura. And Michael Jordan, his aura of being the greatest player of all time is intimidating because guys have to live up to it. Jordan's going to be at practice. I have to impress Michael Jordan. And then the fact that you
feel like you have to.
The blinders as well is that no one's going to call out Michael Jordan for a basketball move because Michael Jordan has never been wrong in his whatever. How long do you play? From 84 to 2002. So his
98.
Okay, but his 20-year career, Jordan didn't make any bad moves besides coming back to the Wizards.
Yeah, pretty much.
No, 98. He didn't come back.
My question is are you blaming Jordan too much for the failure of this organization? Do you feel like it was bad moves by him as an owner that set them up for failure?
No, I don't think it's all on Jordan. I just think
it seems like he seems to be a lightning rod for you right now.
I am angry at a lot of people. I think Rich Cho hasn't been doing a great job, but I think that again we blame James Dolan for all the failures in the New York Knicks. We blame Jerry Reinsdorf when he's not firing John Paxson and
not
Garpax.
Firing, but I'm blaming more Garpax.
Yeah, but that's the thing. He's not getting away from because he's buddies with them.
Yeah.
We've called out guys before. It's been 8 years. When is enough for Jordan? Again, I'm not saying that the reason the Charlotte Hornets, I was gonna say, and both of them really. I mean, he took over when they were Bobcats. But the reason the Hornets and Bobcats have only gone to the playoffs twice are because of Michael Jordan. I think it's a lot of different moves, but Jordan needs to be able to realize, all right, enough's enough with Rich Cho. Enough's enough with these scouts. We need to be able to move forward, and right now I haven't seen those right moves from the ownership, and at least as a majority owner from Michael Jordan. And again, it's not all on Jordan, but I think there is some blame to put on Michael Jordan. I think there's a lot of blame to be put on this Charlotte team. But anyways, And also, they're going to get rid of Kemba Walker, and that's the reason why people are coming to Charlotte Hornets games. So you're going to get rid of Kemba Walker, a guy that's been a consistent all-star for you.
Unless you get IT through a Cleveland trade.
Oh, great. We get to watch Isaiah Thomas play in Charlotte.
I think that he could pull in some people that want to see
I feel so
IT.
bad for Isaiah Thomas he has to go to Charlotte. And not because Charlotte people aren't nice, but the fact that he's going to go to an organization that I just, again, used fucking notes for back in 1950s when we had
Brandon Swanson
right-handed desk.
This was
for
a
my
Brandon
lefties.
Swanson cut in the middle of this.
Anyways, that's going to wrap it up for the Charlotte Hornets. We talked about 40 minutes of the Charlotte Hornets. If you have any thoughts on the Charlotte Hornets, please let us know. We'd really appreciate hearing what you have to say about the Charlotte Hornets. I'm definitely going to make at least an annotation in the comments, a pin one, where Sean Rant starts here, because that was pretty late in the podcast, but people need to see that. But anyways.